The City Council meeting will now come to order. The Community Redevelopment Agency and the Calexico Financing Authority. It is now 6:31 p.m. Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The council met in closed session and discussed items A and B. Direction was given. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you. Okay, let the record show that for the order of attendance, we are all here except Mayor Castro, who's in Washington, D.C., representing the City of Calexico. Former Mayor Moreno, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by former Mayor Moreno, second by Councilman Hodge. Please place your vote. Aye.
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 The record show 4-0. 401 absent. Announcements, public comments. Public comments are welcome. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Please complete a speaker form prior to the start of the meeting. If the item you wish to comment on is a closed session item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item on the agenda. Just for everyone here, I will be asking former Mayor Moreno to time everyone to 3 minutes. Thank you. So, is there somebody here that wants to speak? Oh, 778. Mr. Jun Kim, general comments. Nothing on the agenda. Go ahead.
Excuse me. My name is Jun Kim, the 121 Hacienda Drive, suite number 40, Calexico, California, 92231. I have a written statement to the City Council of the Calexico. Good evening. My name is Jun Kim, and citizen of the Calexico making written complaint to the Calexico City Council about the broken Brown Act law by councilmen. For the respect of them, I will not disclose their name. I was talking about city manager salary in city salary and the rewriting contract, the number of the boarding to release the city manager from positions. I was also mentioned that how strict he was about the put on the consent agenda, that contract. Some of the council person might not like, but I'm the public. I have a right to comment at the meeting. The general public comment time is granted to the public to address any issues, even not on the agenda, by 54954.3. But our city council stopped me several times at last regular city council meeting November 1st, 2011. The public right is violated by our city council, and the lawyer supposed to be protect the public's right, but didn't happen. I want our city council to respect the public and encourage us to attend for address our opinion like agenda mentioned it. That is faster way of the completing unity of citizens for public benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Soledad Salazar.
I'd like this one in the minute, please.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Soledad Salazar. I live at 850 Duke here in Calexico. And the reason I'm here is because I have a concern, and it has to do with the raise that Mr. Rodriguez had asked. And my concern is that I have nothing against you, Mr. Rodriguez, okay? I've only met you here. And the reason is that my concern is that how can we be thinking of giving him a raise when right now we have so many issues in the city? For example, we have the library that's closed for a day. For example, this week, I believe it's going to be closed, 2 days? It was closed, was it closed on Monday? And then it's going to be closed on Friday again, so that's only 3 days for the kids that are used to going there to do their homework. And another thing is that my concern is that all these people that are being laid off, we had people here in the city that were laid off. Some people, their hours are being cut, and yet we want to think about giving a raise. Another thing would be, today I came to pay my water bill. A little bit late, but I came. And my concern was the long lines we have there. It's every month we have long lines, because I see the same 2 people there, and I'm sorry to say this, but I don't know if they're really were trained to receive the payments, but they usually take long to receive the payments. So that's another concern that I have. And another thing would be the timing to think about a raise. We're going through very hard times right now. A lot of people don't have employment. A lot of people are unemployed, like myself. So I know how it feels to be unemployed. And it really concerned me. I'm unemployed, and I see other people that, thank God, they have their jobs. They're lucky people that have their jobs, but some of us don't. So please think before you have some actions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar. Mr. Oscar Gonzalez, I know you listed a list of items here, but did you also want to say something during public comments?
Yes, sir.
Please.
I think I highlighted.
Yes, it says here, I wish to speak out in public comments, but you listed the items.
Happy days.
Yes, you did.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, City Council. I think the legitimacy of Mrs. Salazar's concern is basically my concern, and I think the concern is not only my concern. I know that many, many people in the community are highly critical of questioning the legitimacy, again, of giving not only the city manager, the city attorney, and the finance director. I think as long as the library is closed, that's the core of education. Our kids, my grandchildren, can't go to the library on Friday. It used to be open on Saturdays too. And I think that when the city manager took the job, he knew what it paid. He knew quite well. The city manager was unemployed before he became the Calexico Housing Authority director. He knew what it paid, but he may deserve it, and well, it's up to your council. In conclusion, I want to thank Mr. Morris Risen, Mr. John Moreno, Councilman Mayor Luis Castro, Maritza Hurtado, for their concern to make sure that the trash, the alleys, and bathrooms were clean, because they were atrocious, embarrassing, to say the least, and unhealthy. Mr. Moreno, I know you said it was unacceptable last Monday. Mr. Luis Castro shared that, and we went every day, and I realized the city staff can't do that job. And I'm glad that Joe Acuña's contract was extended for another month and a half. So thank you very much for doing that. In conclusion, again, second conclusion, I want to reiterate that I don't see how the city council can vote to grant anybody a raise when you have the public library employees that work 36 hours, if you were to tell me a year from now that I would have resigned. I would not have been able to work for 36 hours. That's a lot of money when you translate that. And we don't have a plan. We don't have a plan because the excuse is that we don't have money. Well, if we don't have money, how can we justify or rationalize giving the city attorney, who already makes $600,000, and the finance director, she's close to retirement too. If you give her a raise, she'll get more in retirement because it's prorated. So think about it. Smell the coffee, gentlemen. And I think the public, if Mr. Romero and Mr. Moreno vote, it's political suicide because you guys are running for re-election. So please think about what you're going to do. You know, the other thing that I don't like, and I'm indignant, that we're discussing what the mayor did.
Mr. Gonzalez, you got just a few more seconds.
Okay, give me 30 seconds. Well, I was going to say chicken shit because he's not here tonight. He's not here to defend himself.
You're
And I
talking
think
about-
Mr. Castro has a First Amendment and civil rights. And if you haven't learned that, Mr. Romero, I taught government, American government, for 25 years, and that's a basic. You guys are executive, and you're not judicial. That's why we have a superior court. And if you do something, I want to file an injunction against the city, and I can do it.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Gonzalez. Okay, I understand there's a public presentation, proclamation declaring Farm Worker Appreciation Week. Over there, Lorena, please. No, yeah. Pero no,
Good evening, everyone. Lorena Minor Montes, 1072 Spud Moreno. I'm here as a resident to request a stop sign at the intersection of Andrade and Spud Moreno. I've talked to Nick Servin regarding other issues at the Pacific Century Homes, but this, I think, is something that has not to do anything with the bond. I've taken my kids bike riding multiple times in that generic area close to my house, and people are speeding down Andrade Avenue like they're really in a hurry to get home, and they don't see what's coming in on the opposite side. So I don't know what I need to do, either talk to the police chief or get my neighbors to sign a petition to request a stop sign at the intersection of Andrade and Spud Moreno. Thank you.
Mr. City Manager, can you look into that, please? Yes, sir. Thank you. The other petitions that I have here are for agenda items. So we'll go to, okay, proclamation. Does somebody have the proclamation? Mr. City Manager? Monday? No. Luli, do you have it? Can we maybe to the next week? If we have one meeting next week?
I know that they're having their ceremonies on the 4th, or 2nd, or something like that. 2nd? So, yeah, we can have it next week.
Okay, you put in, okay. All right, then, now we have a presentation by Mark Basa regarding Imperial County Transportation Commission, otherwise known as ICTC.
Good evening, Council. I was originally approached by Mayor Castro to give a presentation to y'all, giving you an overview of ICTC and what our responsibilities are, and also to kind of talk about some of the plans and projects that we're implementing here in Imperial County. ICTC was established under Senate Bill 607 that was sponsored by Senator Cheney in 2009. In January of 2010, ICTC became effective. Shortly after that, I was appointed as the executive director. ICTC had replaced IVAG by this legislation as the agency responsible for regional transportation planning and programs responsibilities for Imperial Valley. As a county transportation commission, ICTC and its member agencies lead the planning and programming process for the Valley. As part of that effort, we are a sub-regional entity of the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, otherwise known as SCAG. SCAG is the metropolitan planning organization as recognized by the federal government, and we are a sub-regional entity of that. As mandated in Senate Bill 607, as I talked about, we're responsible for transit planning, transportation planning, regional transit services, and I'll talk a little bit about that. We talk about the regional, state, federal transportation improvement programs, and all that has to do with the money that comes through this region for transportation projects. And it could be some projects that are implemented here in the city with federal and state monies. It could be Caltrans projects on the state highway system, and et cetera. We're also, one of the things that we took on responsibility since our creation was to take over the Measure D program. And we had taken action with you all recently and hope to take another action forthcoming to move forward with that bond financing effort, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Our member agencies are each of the cities, the County of Imperial, and the Imperial Irrigation District. That is, the Imperial Irrigation District is a unique member to County Transportation Commission, as most county transportation commissions throughout the state don't have a utility agency as a voting member as part of their entity. That seems to be like a carry-on from past activities with IVAG. And one of the things that we felt, and we still today continue to feel, that IID is a critical part, because any roadway project that is implemented in the valley impacts the canals and et cetera. So it's important that they be a part of the process, and they want to be a part of it, and we think it's a good fit for us. Other elements of Senate Bill 607 included non-voting members, one with the state, and we have a Caltrans District 11 representative sitting on our board. It's a non-voting position. There were other non-voting positions that were identified as Senate Bill 607 that we'll pursue in the future. The state of Baja California, the municipality of Mexicali, the Council of Mexico, and one Native American tribal government representative here in Imperial Valley. A little bit about our organizational structure. We're a really small group, myself and the secretary to the commission, and I have with me today David Salgado. He's our newest planner, and he's also going to be, oversighting our transit operations. We have a senior planner who works for us, and eventually I'll be hiring another planner to help with our regional planning that we coordinate with SCAG and Caltrans on. As part of our responsibilities as a county transportation commission, as well as a regional transportation planning agency, as well as our transit responsibilities, we have to have a management structure and a review process. We have the board, which has elected representatives from each of the cities in the county. We have a management committee, that is the city managers for each of the cities and the county. The city managers group basically serves as our policy advisory committee to the executive board. We have a regular technical advisory committee, which consists of the planning and public works directors for each of the cities in the county. And we also have, particularly on the disabled and elderly transit services, we have a social services technical advisory committee. So we have various members of the public and folks who represent social service agencies. Here's some of our core regional transit services that we either provide funding for or actually responsible for managing. The dial-a-ride programs, each of the cities that handle those, they are the direct managers of the program, but we help process the funding that comes to each of your cities for those dial-a-ride programs. We have the regional transit system, the Imperial Valley Transit, as well as the Imperial Valley IVT Access. The IVT Access is the Americans with Disability Act paratransit component that we have to have as part of our regional transit system. Within the city of Calexico, we also have circulators called the IVT Blue and Green lines. And then there's a Med Express, and that provides services for folks here in the valley 4 times a week and provides service for doctor's appointments or medical appointments in the San Diego area. Just a little bit about the capital projects that we either work in conjunction with the cities, the county, and Caltrans bicycle pedestrian projects, bus stops and benches and shelters, state highways, and transfer terminals, transit transfer terminals. As we talked about a little bit about the finance part of it, and a lot of funding comes to this or comes available to this region, and we help pursue the grants and the funds that come into this region, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Marketing and community outreach, everything that we do on planning and outreach, we need to reach out to the public. We need to find out whether or not we're doing a good job, what are the opportunities for improving our services and transportation facilities in the region. Right now, we're carrying out a short-range transit plan that most recently we did a unique thing to get input from the riders, and that is we had our consultant team actually ride on the bus system from here in Calexico all the way to all of our stops throughout, as far as north to Sealy and elsewhere, just to get the folks' input about what they feel is the opportunity to improve our service, or what would they like to see in terms of increased hours or amenities, et cetera. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we did get a grant to do a proposed circulator system. I mentioned that we have the blue and green line in the city of El Centro. And the previous vision that was established for Imperial Valley was that there would be an orange line in Calexico, a red line in Imperial, and a gold line in Brawley. And what we got a grant to do is to look at the design of those potential. And we see there's an opportunity there. That study will be getting underway this coming year. There were some other things that we have to do as part of our responsibilities to the state, in terms of statistical reporting to the state and the federal government, audits, et cetera. Those are our challenges that we have to do either on an annual basis or a triennial basis. On the regional transportation planning, we've been working with SCAG. They're going through an update of what they're calling the 2012 update of the regional transportation plan. With that, the state implemented Senate Bill 375, and some of you are aware of that Senate Bill 375 required the state and the local agencies to address reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and reductions in vehicle miles traveled. And so we've been working with SCAG and incorporating all of the projects that we have here in Imperial Valley into that larger plan of 6 counties that are part of SCAG. Our key partnerships, the main ones are here in this region. It's all of the cities, the county, the public agencies, the general public. But our other key agencies that we work with, Caltrans, as you are aware of, the Southern California Association of Governments, and we work directly with on the federal funds with Federal Highway Administration, the Federal Transit Administration for all the transit monies that come into this region. And then as we coordinate with the development of port of entry improvements, we work directly with GSA and CBP, just as you guys do on a regular basis related to the port of entry projects. We also have relationships to try and plan together with Mexico, the state of Baja California, and Mexicali. Right now, we've just, with Caltrans and Federal Highways leadership, we are updating a border master plan. And with that plan, we are updating all of our priorities as it relates to the ports of entry, as well as the transportation facilities that are connected to that. We feel that is a very valuable tool for us, as in the past, we used to have a relationship with CBP and GSA, and that is, we didn't have a relationship. They would say, just as an example, here in this region, when they said that they wanted to place Calexico East 6.5 miles to the east, they never consulted any of us to say, well, what about the highway? So at the time, I was working for Caltrans, and they said, oh, by the way, we need a highway to go to Calexico East. So the state and this region was scrambling to find the money to create that first segment of State Route 7 from the border to State Route 98. And then we also planned ahead and started planning and built the second segment from I-98 to I-8.
How's the relationship now?
We think it is a lot better. I mean, I think this border master plan is an example of it, where we're actually, you know, with that plan, we have a set of criteria that says what are the priorities. One of those priorities for this region was the expansion of the downtown Calexico Port of Entry, and that's why GSA had pressed forward with the design and environmental for the Calexico Port of Entry. And then for us on the highway side, you know, it's been clearly established our big priority for roadway improvements as it relates to that port of entry is to complete the Cesar Chavez State Route 98 connection that will service that port expansion to the west there. Our other partnership, we do have one with the San Diego Association of Governments. We have a inter-county relationship that we, you know, coordinate with on a daily basis, but we also share the entire California-Mexico border with San Diego. And we feel it's important for us to communicate on a regular basis and plan, you know, because the state of Baja California is our partner across this border. And we feel it's important to continue with that effort. Go on to our role as staff to the Local Transportation Authority and the Measure D program. Just some tidbits as we've talked about before. And over the original Measure D program was approved in 1989. And from 1990 to 2010, that program yielded $140 million. For Calexico, that program yielded $24 million over that period of time. And various projects in your city and the other cities throughout, you know, pedestrian bicycle safety projects, pavement rehab, intersection traffic signal improvements, safe routes to schools, contributions to the regional highway system. The value is pretty great in that you're able to implement local projects as well as regional projects, and you share and leverage that money together with some other federal funds or state funds that we might be able to get. This map here is a pretty colorful map. It outlines our priorities that were established in the 2007 long-range plan. The red highlights the short-term priority, the near-term priorities. Closest to your area here, the State Route 98 and Jasper Road realignment, that has been part of that. The widening and improvement of 111, the other, and then the Cesar Chavez improvements have been part of that. Go ahead and click forward, David. That's good. Major projects that we've completed throughout this region, starting probably from the oldest being the State Route 86 Expressway. That was a major improvement for this region and the travel that all of us and the goods movement that travels from this border throughout this county and into the Southern California region and beyond to the ports of LA, Long Beach, and those goods coming to and from, coming into this region. That was a major accomplishment. The 111 Expressway that was completed. We talked about the completion of State Route 7 from the border to 98, as well as the extension to I-8. Those are some of our top priorities there. Another one on the west side of the county, the Forester Road. There's a lot of travel on that corridor for autos and trucks that travel on that corridor. We're obviously hopeful that the completion of the Brawley bypass will help relieve some of that corridor, but we still feel that that 2-lane road needs to be upgraded to a 4-lane highway.
Go ahead, David. Just a little update on the Brawley bypass. I know that you all have been familiar with this project. The project is, we were able to get the last stage of funding through our efforts from this region, and then the last push to get that $49 million to complete that. The Caltrans team is pressing forward with that project, and right now is scheduled to complete that project in November of next year. And so we're all pretty excited about that. This map outlines all of the transit system that we have throughout the county. It's a pretty large system. The dark blue outlines the fixed route that operates on a daily basis throughout here. The light blue indicate our lifeline corridors, what we call one day of service, a week service to Ocotillo, as well as to Winter Haven, and then up north from Brawley to Calipatria and beyond up to Bombay. Just to give you an idea of how much the ridership, we estimate it's about 2,000 people a day that ride on our bus system. That's about 55,000 a month that ride our system. We talked about the circulators, just indicating the blue and green line. We talked about that we're going to be doing a study to look at that potential for circulators here in your city, the city of Imperial and the city of Brawley. Back it up a little bit, David. What I wanted to also talk about is we were able to get a small grant to look at the feasibility of a terminal at the Calexico border crossing, the transfer terminal there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in following slides. As you all aware, Calexico port of entry expansion is increasing. These are slides that are not new to you. They're the expansion, but go ahead, David. Just some illustrations of it. But the next slide is to tell you that we worked with your staff and Caltrans to put together a submittal for $9 million towards completion of the Cesar Chavez Boulevard project, as well as the State Route 98 component connecting at the intersection there where the railroad crossing is. Back it up. We've been actively working on the funding of transit transfer terminals. Most recently, last year, we completed the first phase of the IVC campus transfer terminal, and if you've ever been out there, it's a pretty nice facility that we have there. We are also help the college to get funding for a second phase of that project on the southwestern side of the campus, and that project is in design phase, and together with the funding we've acquired as well as the college's fund, that project will be completed sometime, or at least get underway sometime next year. We also assisted the city of El Centro and the city of Brawley towards completion of their transfer terminals. They have just recently completed the design work for both of those facilities, and either by the end of this year or early next year, they are going to solicit for construction bids, and we were able to help with getting state funds to complete those projects. Now, your city, as I mentioned, we see there's a great opportunity in the ridership for bus services in your city, not just for the IVT system, but the private operators that operate within your city, the taxi operators. We see there's a great opportunity to have an intermodal transportation center at your city. The potential site that could be is the parking lot to the west, and I understand that to be a city parking lot. And we have as I mentioned, we have a grant that we acquired to get underway next year to study the potential for that, as well as all the circulation of the bus operations. And this facility, as I mentioned, would not just be for the IVT system, it would also be for the dial ride services or the private transit operators or the taxis. If many of you have been to the San Ysidro crossing and seen the trolley center, we would hope to have something of that nature at this location. I'll just close, this is a all-new agency that we've been working to develop our own entity, identity as an independent agency. Previously, IVAG was under the county, and so we've had to start from scratch to create this new entity. And we've worked with the federal agencies, the state agencies, to transfer the legal responsibilities from county IVAG to ICTC, and so far we've completed most of those efforts. We've taken on the role, as I said, about managing the local transportation authority. Next slide. Working on all of our bylaw, all of our policies related to the transit and transportation and procurement processes, policies. It's quite an effort to start from scratch. We recently moved into our own new office, and some of you had visited our new office. It's on Imperial Avenue. We share our office with the Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation, as well as the local office of Southern California Association of Governments. And one of our next biggest thing is, my employee David, as well as the other employees, are county employees, and we're working to transition, and hopefully by January, they will be ICTC employees and not County of Imperial employees. That concludes my presentation, and I welcome any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a question. Of course. Very good presentation, by the way. I'm glad that you came down here and gave us the information that I guess a lot of us aren't aware of. But has it occurred to the ICTC as to whether or not they'll be moving possibly to a rail system, to a light rail system of moving people and products, or is that something that's still farther down the line?
Well, I think it is something further down the line, but I think that you haven't been the first person to mention that as a potential. I think we do have rail tracks that we could share with the Union Pacific. It's been done in other locations. My only challenge, as I would say, is, that is the expense of, the capital expense, aside from the agreements. I think that we can get agreements with UP for shared use.
Because the way I'm thinking is the state of California is going green in many respects, and this is one of the ways for them to accomplish that. So I'm just curious about.
Definitely. One of the things I would say, if I give you a perspective of many of my other transportation agencies throughout the state, a lot of them are, the major urban areas certainly are putting a lot of expenditure in their rail systems, some of which that they have done so using sales tax measures to help finance it. In particular, that I know of in Los Angeles, they did a major sales tax measure to help pay for that type of rail
Now, I understand
infrastructure.
there's a rail system that moves people out of Yuma all the way into Texas. Are you aware of that rail system out there?
No, I'm not, but I have initiated a partnership with Yuma, and I'll be finding out more about that. But they are doing I know that Yuma is working on some rail studies and considering that in the border area, so I'm definitely going to be following along with that effort and see how that.
And the only other logical alternative would be for that rail system to continue to the coast, up into San Diego. I know there was talk about that.
And that was something that certainly that Congressman Filner was high on the potential and had gotten some type of earmark. But I think what the reason why it didn't move forward was, the reality of let's say the potential for ridership, riding to and from Imperial Valley. I think those are realities that have to bear whether you can finance that, beyond, let's say the engineering and environmental studies to carry out for that type of effort. But I think that is certainly something that we should look at in the future, and as we go for a long-range plan view, I think we need to consider that also.
Thank you, Mr. Baza. Thank you, Mr. Romero.
Thank you, Former Mayor Moreno. Councilman Hodge, any questions?
No.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vaca, for your presentation. Very informative. You have a meeting tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay, understand Councilman Hodge will be at the meeting tomorrow. Okay, general comments by city council members. I'll proceed with to my left, Councilman Hodge.
It's been a long time coming, but Oscar, city manager, I want to thank you for finally putting pressure on the owners of the Calexico 10 Theater, and I don't know if you've noticed, but they're patching up the sign, the marquee. It's looking better. It's not finished yet, but it's quite an improvement. And because I always said it was a real eyesore. It was an embarrassment. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't consider that a little thing. I consider that an important thing that we need to do. So thank you, city manager, and hope they get it completed very soon.
Thank you, Councilman Hodge. Former Mayor Moreno.
Yes, Mr. Romero, question to our city manager with regard to CPAL, and I know they do a lot of great things for our youth, but what relationship does the CPAL have with the city of Calexico? If there is no relationship, the use of the facilities, how is that going about? Are they charged for the use of facilities, or they submit a request for the use of facilities to provide the insurance necessary to carry on events? But specifically, what is their relationship with the city?
Well, I think they have to provide all the insurances and request. Sandra, you want to help me out with that as far as the procedure that they actually go through when requesting facilities?
Good evening, Sandra Toller, Community Services Director. The way that it works is that each sports group, CPAL, is a private nonprofit, so they are an independent sports organization. They submit a request for the fields that they want, and there's a list of items that are required there. They want the names of the board of directors and contact information, and they want a schedule of games and practices. And once they meet all of those requirements, then the Parks Department, Nick Finley and Peter Castro, they allocate the parks, and they try to stretch them out as much as possible to get as many people as possible to be able to use the fields.
So
that's how it works.
The city's role is only to provide the facility.
That's how it works, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Towler. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I have another, I was approached by several citizens or residents of the city of Calexico that there's some lights that are out, Mr. Servine, out in your old neighborhood there on Dual Avenue. It's pretty dark out there by the tennis courts and whatnot.
Yeah, Noon and Belcher.
Right. Have we discussed that already?
No, I got the same thing.
Okay.
Well, we kind of did discuss it a little bit. We have some lights on back orders. We installed some lights already. We have a piece of equipment that's not in use because it's malfunctioning. We have to rent it, so we have to play it and schedule it properly. So we rent the machine, then we do lights at some given time.
But they're on back order and they should be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there was one more item. I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Public Works, Mr. Servine, if you could help me. I noticed that several nights, I guess over the weekend, there was a pungent odor that came into town. I don't know if any of you experienced it, but there was like a factory aroma of meat processing, if you will, that came. And coming out of Walmart Supercenter just on Saturday, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't know if anybody experienced that, but I don't know. And it was on several nights. It wasn't just on one night where I would think it was an isolated case. Is there any type of construction or digging or excavation or anything going on anywhere?
Well, it could be that there's a pump station in that proximity. There's actually 2 pump stations in that proximity, and 2 of them are being put out for RFP to upgrade them, because we've been experiencing some backups and some alarms, so whenever the pumps fail, you have the odors.
It was like dead fish.
That would be about right.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to go on record that I have been bathing, so you don't have to.
Okay, so it's the lift stations, perhaps?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Because, yeah, it was all in this area here by Walmart in that northern part of the town. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sedrin. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Romero, that's all I have.
Thank you, former Mayor Moreno. Councilwoman Hurtado?
I just wanted to comment that I did receive several phone calls and pictures of the issues we had in downtown with the trash pickup. And I wanted to thank everybody that sent that information to me. We did take care of that issue, and I don't know if Mr. Rodriguez, you'd like to add anything on that, but we have taken care of that, and I did see that because I have my business downtown too. So thank you very much for all that information, and we're working on making sure that we have a future plan for that too.
I guess I would just add that, we publicly like to thank the Business Improvement District. They had a meeting this morning, and they facilitated financial assistance to the city in the form of $1,500 a month through January 31st in order to help us to address the issue in downtown as far as making sure that the service is available at least through the holiday season. We've worked very well with the Business Improvement District, and they certainly have stepped up to the plate, and we do have a plan in action, and we'll be implementing this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, first, as Mayor Pro Tem, I am chairing the meeting tonight since Mayor Luis Castro is traveling to Washington, D.C. to represent the City of Calexico in a conference of economic development and security issues along the border. Chief Jim Newjar and Economic Development Specialist Julia Osuna are accompanying him since they are very informed in their respective areas. This is why you do not see Mayor Castro with us today. This weekend was also Veterans Day. This weekend, is when all should remember to say thank you to all the veterans who put their lives on the line while serving in the armed services, and to those that are currently serving to protect our country. Their services permits us and others to do whatever we do with the assurance that our way of life is constantly being guarded and protected. At the last council meeting, I requested for a speaker to come in from a local bank. Obviously, he or she is not here. City Manager, I would like for you to, if a representative from the bank is somewhat reluctant to be present, see if you can talk to the banks that they can refer you to somebody that is somewhat informed of what's going on with the banks and the money exchange businesses, so they can give a presentation at a future council meeting. For those that do not know, Don Pedro's Restaurant closes operations this past Sunday, November the 13th. One of them mentioned to me that they cannot compete against the Meals on Wheels, who do not also have an established restaurant, like Politos and Taco Mix. These two businesses have their own restaurants, and besides having this operation. Since they have a restaurant, they should also be extended the opportunity to provide the service if they can afford to. But it's the ones that do not have a restaurant that basically did them in. There are reports, and I have received some reports myself, that other food service from their personal automobiles or from their homes are out there. Cities should be sending the code enforcers to look for these type of services, since they may not be not only licensed by the city, but likely not have the appropriate permits from the county health inspectors.
And I want to piggyback on that, Mr. Romero, if I may. I believe they partner in front of Port of Entry, and they sell the Department of Homeland Security out of the trunk of their car.
City Manager, if you can direct the code enforcers to please go walk, not cruise downtown, so see what they can pick up. I understand that some of the local business might, in the downtown area, might be able to help pinpoint who is doing this. What's that?
No, I was just going ahead.
There was an oversight committee meeting on economic recovery along the border region here at the Fernando Nene Torres Council Chambers last Thursday, November the 10th, chaired by Assemblyman Manuel Perez. Sitting beside the Assemblyman was Mexicali Mayor Francisco Perez Tejada and our Mayor of Calexico, Luis Castro, who both formed part of this committee meeting. Hopefully, at the next regular session, our Mayor Castro can give us a summary of what happened at this committee meeting. Yep. Okay. That's all I have, and Anything regarding the consent agenda? What's the,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull items 3, 7, and 7A.
3, on which one?
On the code enforcement issue with the
Sure.
vehicle sales?
If you dare.
As per my supervisor. Just to let you know, code enforcement has been working with the health department continuously with these vehicle vendors. The one that has been selling downtown is actually El Gallo de Oro. We've been working together with George Rashid. You saw me talking to him today. That's what we were talking about. We've had complaints from McDonald's. El Gallo de Oro has an established business in the old hamburger stand. They've been selling out of their car. The health department has sent out a letter. As a matter of fact, I took a copy of the letter to the city manager's office today. I don't know if he got it or not. Advising them not to sell out of their car anymore, that they will be fined up to $1,000 and go to jail if need be. They are allowed to deliver, I believe, but not to be selling out of their car. And it's El Gallo de Oro, the one that's been hanging out downtown, because Mr. Rashid has been continuously complaining to us. But we are working together with the health department at this point, and the police department.
Thank you very much. Good update.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
May I add something? Francisco Marquez, Imperial County Workforce Development Director. Our office is offering, there's current legislation by the state of California that requires all food handlers to have a certificate, and our office is having classes, those instructional classes that we, the county, are sponsoring and paying for. The meetings have been held here in Calexico. Mr. Hargrave at the buffet will be hosting the first 2 classes. They're going to be bilingual. And this is a new requirement that all food handlers will have to have this certificate. And there's another requirement that somebody in each restaurant, either the manager or some operational person, has to have a food handling and processing certificate also. But with regard to the food handlers, we are putting on that class, and it's been announced by the chamber. I was informed that there's a good response, but we still have about 100 slots. So all the eating establishments in your city, if they could contact my office or Mr. Hargrave, they contact my office, we will direct them and sign them up for that food handler's certificate.
Lorena? While you're doing this, is there any way that the information that they have for this class that can also be provided to these people?
I'll get it, Mayor Pro Tem, I'll get in touch with her and give her my card, and so you can circulate that information.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, Mr. Moreno, you're pulling items 3, 7, and 7A.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hodge?
I'd like to pull item number 4.
Councilwoman Hurtado? Okay, is there a motion to pull items 1, 2, 5, and 6? Wait. 6 to approve. Motion to approve. What are you saying? Oh, motion to approve items 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Where are you going?
Did I go too far?
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did, sir.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to move that we approve items 2,
Oh, yes, I did.
5, and
Okay.
6.
What about number 1?
How about number 1?
Number 1?
1, 2, 5, and 6, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 1. 1, 2, 5, and 6.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Moreno, second by Ms. Hurtado. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is it working, Luli?
Yeah, sure. There you go.
We already voted.
That is?
Okay. Let the record show is 4-0 with Mayor absent. Okay, item number 3, pulled by Mr. Moreno. Please go ahead.
Yes, this is for the report for cash distribution, July 2011. I noticed that on page, well, I was looking at, okay, where was it? The page 3, we've noticed some big costs on Imperial Valley Emergency, 32,000, 45,000. Is that?
What month is that?
That is July. That's page 3. Yeah. Is this, I would address to our fire chief? No? I was looking at the big expenditures on that one.
Annually, we pay Iveca infrastructure costs, and it is a huge amount, yes. It's our annual.
Iveca.
Yes.
Isn't that
It's for
the,
infrastructure costs, it's for PERMA, which I believe is legal, and there's about 3 or 4 different types of costs that we have to pay annually.
Isn't that the local or valley agency?
Iveca? Yes.
Iveca?
Imperial Valley Communications,
Emergency?
Emergency Communications Authority.
That's, do you attend those meetings? I know the chief has. Okay.
Yes, either one of the chiefs, I believe, attend. I think Mr. Chief Mercado attends.
This is an annual cost.
Yes, it's for our system, valley-wide system for emergency services.
And also on page 4, there was one for Wells Fargo equipment at a cost of $64,000 on page 4. Is that also an annual cost? It says FD, KME pumper truck.
Yes, that's a lease purchase on the fire truck.
Oh, okay.
And we have 3 more years left, I think? 3 or 4 more years left on the truck.
And then on page 6, there was a big amount on the town center portico, which is the $417,000 for hazardous construction. Is that also part of the EDA?
That's a town center project, correct?
Okay, so, all right. And I noticed that the month of July was a lot larger than the other 2 months that included. Is that because of the annual payments that are made, or
3 payrolls.
or why was that? For example, this month of July at $5 million was dispersed, and I think the other ones were $800,000 and $1 million. And I was just wondering why the month of July is such a great amount.
We have some of the payments for JPA. Those are the large payments that we do on an annual basis with the Joint Powers Authority for our insurance.
Right, I saw that one too.
Yes.
That's a large one. And
So-
then,
Those are
and then we
annual
had a couple of construction projects. The EDA project had some payments that were due also.
Okay, yeah, because
There's one payment on page 12, that's $2 million.
$2 million?
Yes.
Did I miss that one?
Well, it's a Wells Fargo RDA transfer to pay 2006, 2000, and whatever.
Oh, yeah,
The year 200.
That's debt service on the bonds.
Okay.
Oh, that's out of RDA though, right?
Correct.
Yes, those are semi-annual payments?
Yes.
Yes.
I just want a clarification on that number of items, that's all I have. If there's any other questions, a motion to approve?
Mr. Hodge or Ms. Hurtado?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, second, motion by Mr. Moreno to approve item number 3, second by Ms. Hurtado. Please vote. Let the record show it's 4-0. Let's go to item number 4, pulled by Mr. Hodge.
I guess I'll start with you, Mr. City Manager. I'm just going to focus on this page. I don't see a page number, but summary of overtime on fire safety. It's pretty self-explanatory, beginning with this fiscal year, 7/12, ending at 10/4/2011. There's a couple of months when you add up other earnings and overtime, for instance, July, 12,859 on overtime, and then ending at the week of 9/20, 10,000. It appears that's a substantial amount. I know we're making inroads into bringing the overtime down, but the problem I have, or I'm requesting, is what would be really neat to have is last year's figures like this so that I could take last year's and this year's and say, hey, we're doing better, or uh-oh, we haven't improved. We don't have anything to compare. I think I brought this up before, if that's possible.
We can put a comparative document together that will show last year's numbers. If I remember correctly, this last budget, we cut 160,000, if I remember, off the overtime.
Pretty close to that.
Budget numbers. And all that had to do with also being able to hire the 4 additional firefighters, which just recently came on board. So we believe that that is going to help us to cut the overtime once they're on their own. Obviously, right now, they're going through the training side of it, and so they're not able to stay on the shift by themselves. But once that happens, we believe we're going to be able to lower the overtime rates. The other thing you might want to take a look at, and I'm sure you notice, is that there's like, it goes 3 and then you got nothing for overtime. And what that is, we're on a 28-day work cycle. So the FLSA gets paid after the work cycle, which means that after a certain amount of days, if they work over a certain amount of hours, then they get time and a half on that. So, but the bottom line, to answer your question, yes, we can do a comparative. Yes, we've cut, I believe it was 160,000 for this budget. And yes, we're going to be bringing down those overtime rates as soon as these firefighters are on their own on shift.
That reminds me of another question. You said it's budgeted at 150,000 plus. Based on what criteria do we?
Well, we lowered it based on the criteria that we were going to be hiring 4 additional firefighters. And with the addition of the 4 firefighters, we wouldn't have to be calling people in because they weren't meeting their manning requirements. And so by putting more people on shift, if one calls in sick, you're still at the manning requirements, and you don't have to call somebody in, where we were so short that every time somebody called in sick or was out on vacation or whatever, we had to call people in on overtime.
I can take that a step further. It's not so much even filling those vacancies, is that we were short-staffed. Remember, we had separation of 4 individuals from the fire department that we weren't able to hire back because there was hiring freezes. So we were having to fill mandatory vacancies on every given day. That's not including the furloughs that were imposed on the employees, the accumulation of vacation hours that our employees were losing, vacation hours because they couldn't take because we were denying those leaves. So that's what that focus was trying to fill those gaps.
Those explanations are important, and I appreciate that. I guess what I just need is some comparison so that I can sum up quickly, or we're improving, we're doing better, or no, we're still at the same level, same rate, so that I can be better informed, or we can, and then I can ask pertinent questions.
Well, we can give you the comparatives. It's going to be a little difficult since you're not comparing apples to apples, because one year obviously is going to be less than the other year. So, but we can give you those comparables. Again, the idea is that we were able to cut the overtime rate in our budget, and we're hoping to hit that target, in which case you'll see that the additional 4
numbers to compare.
Yeah, the additional 4 will be able to prove up that by adding these people on board, we were able to save that overtime. But yes, we can do that, and we'll provide that to you.
No more.
I'd just like to add something to what you were just asking, because I had that question today also. So actually, I have a copy here of what was happening last year, if you want that. But to Mr. Rodriguez, doesn't the monthly financial report make that type of comparison in one of the columns? It'll talk about last year's expense and then...
No, unless I'm missing something, no.
No, the monthly.
Last year's? No.
On the monthly financial report, you have what was the actual expense for last year, last fiscal year, and then what we're doing at this period.
Is that the proposed budget, or the budget? It's the budget, the adopted budget. We have the adopted budget numbers, and then we have the actuals. And that'll give you your variance, how you're doing along with the
Some
budget.
comparison, at least I can use that at least a little. But
Yeah, like I said, we can give you the comparables. We can just put last year's actuals right next to it. Like I said, it may be a little difficult because since we cut 160 off the budget, you'll obviously see that one is going to be a lot lower than the other. But the bottom line is going to be, when we get down to close to the end of the year, are we targeting and are we going to be able to hit that target?
In this report, I guess, Ms. Hashem, like, for example, public safety, you have final budget? That's what was approved in the budget, is that correct?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. And those are actual expenses that follow that?
You have actual expenses and you have the final budget numbers.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Moreno. All those in favor, please place your vote. You can say aye. How about aye? There you go. Mr. City Manager, can we get these things?
You gotta hold it down, you gotta hold it down for a second. Hold it down for a second. 1,001?
That's a second.
There you go. I was going to say what the heck was it? 4-0.
Persistence.
Give us some love. All right, 4-0. Item number 7, Mr. Moreno. Mr. Moreno, there are some persons, I have two, that wish to speak on the item. Before or after?
It's your call, sir. I would just had some questions for Mr. Rodriguez.
Then let's go ahead. Go
And to
ahead.
give us some background exactly what is the situation at hand.
The numbers, basically what we're doing here is we're adjusting salaries based on the inclusion of the Social Security rate, which was abolished at some point in time in the past. And so we're adding that back in and then taking the 10% cut that the management team took effective July 1. Maybe City Attorney can add to that.
I think the only other thing to add is just that Ms. Hashem is one of the few employees that was on an individual employment contract. At the time, the 7.65 reduction was taken, and so that's one of the distinctions with this particular contract. So she is a contract employee, whereas most of the other department heads, as well as other employees, are not covered by an individual employment contract.
So that some time ago, everybody was adjusted to include the Social Security so that each one can pay, and you were excluded? You, the finance director, was excluded from this adjustment?
No, the finance director was included. It was negotiated through the unions. That was part of the negotiations that year, and I'm not remembering now if that was imposed or if an agreement was reached on that, but with the unions. But that change was taken across the board to all employees except, I believe, public safety. They don't pay Social Security.
Thank you.
So you're adding 7.65% and then reducing it by 10%?
Yes, 7.65% would be,
Social Security?
yes, it would be an adjustment to the base salary so that she would pay the 7.65 Social Security, and then the 10% overall salary reduction that is part of this fiscal year's budget.
So we're, in essence, I just want to make sure I understand, we're paying the 7.65 and then reducing the salary.
The salary
Well,
is
the
adjusted
effect, the
to
employee
include that.
will pay the 7 point, I mean, that deduction will be taken from the paycheck, but the city, if approving this amendment, the city would be increasing her base salary by 7.65, which in effect is allowing her to pay that Social Security withholding that she wasn't paying
So in other words,
before.
we're increasing 7.65 and then
Reducing
it
by
10%.
10%,
So
yes.
it's like
And
a-
it all goes back to July 1,
If I-
2011.
Okay, again, if I'm not mistaken, through negotiations, everyone's was adopted and implemented except, in this agenda item, except Judy's contract.
Well, when you say that, the negotiations took place with the unions, you don't
Yes.
have to negotiate with management
I
that are
understand.
not covered by contracts. So the 7.65 was, I believe, Ms. Hashem started paying it, as did all city employees at the time
Right,
that were subject to Social Security.
okay. That's better ones. Anything else? Mr. Gonzalez, I don't have one from you, but please, go ahead.
You know, I would like to know how much Miss Judy Hashem makes. I've heard 126,000, and how much will that be, that pay increase be? If it's 7.75 and you're talking only in fractions, or dollars and cents, 7.65, seems to me that's a tremendous increase from 7.65 from 126,000.
No, it's not. How much is it?
How much will it be, Mr. Rodriguez? What's her base pay right now?
No. Thanks.
The salary we're using to make the adjustments is 112,440. So the adjustments are on that amount. So you're reducing it by 10 and adding 765 to that base amount.
Yeah, but is it true she makes 126,000 right now?
No, the base is 112,440.
So that 7.6 will be what? Good 7,000 or more?
Okay.
Thank you. I don't think she should get it, but that's me. Where are we going to get the money? Mr. Joe Acuna told me this morning that in the agreement that you did, thank you, the islands where the plans downtown is not covered, and I hear the
Mr.
business
Gonzalez,
improvement.
it's a different agenda item. It's a different
Thank you.
item. It's a different subject.
Thank you, but,
Thank
where
you.
are we going to get that 7.6 if we can't clean downtown?
All right, thank you. Anything else from council?
No, not for me, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion?
No.
What's that? Oh, yes, of course. Lorena Minor Montes, where are you? My apologies.
Lorena Minor Montes, good evening, everyone. I am also the president of the chapter of the Calexico members of the SEIU. At this point, we are only 70, which includes laborers, secretaries, all the minority of the backbone of the city of Calexico, code enforcement, executive assistants, office assistants, the street sweepers, and so forth. I can go on and on. When I first joined into this union, we were over 150 employees, and now we're only at 70. After talking to some of the councilmen, myself, some of the council has showed the need to start opening the facilities at least once every other Friday. It was not our choice to close every Friday. These were furloughs that were imposed on us by council, yet this council, last council, whichever council, this was not our choice. After I was imposed furloughs, and if I add it all up, it's a minimum of 28% of my salary and benefits now. Minimum, going on 4 years. I have a second job, and today I decided to come to the meeting and not work my second job to come and speak to you guys, to give a better life to my children, my two little lives of being. I live for them, for those of you that know them. I'm not here to upset anyone. I'm not here to talk bad about anyone. I'm here to share my opinion and share my life. I love my job, even though sometimes it's a very thankless job. Being code enforcement is not one of the easiest jobs here in the city, because as you know, you're raised in this town and you know everybody. They're either your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, and you have to set the law to them. So one day I'll be happy at what I do, and at one moment I'll forget what I have to do and put aside my friendship to do my job. As with the food vendors, For example, people say that I know Politos and that he's my friend. He lives a house away from me. That doesn't mean him and I are best friends. But that's just one of the issues. After all these cuts, some of the members of our union have been very disgruntled, there's no morale. We know that we are the workforce of the city, accompanied along with the other employees, the Calexico Police Officer Association, the Fire Association. Together we make a team that makes the city of Calexico. And with all due respect to Hildy that's not here, it kind of sickens me that the city council has decided to take money out of the general fund reserves to help out the chamber. How about helping this house first and then go on to other people? A lot of these are not my opinions. These are things that my members bring to me, and I'm just sharing to you as their representative. Some councilmen have said they want to work on a skeleton crew every other Friday. What skeleton crew? My office is built of building, planning, engineering, and code enforcement. So far, we only have one office assistant working for all 4 departments, when before there was 5 or 6 office assistants, when the city was at a better economic state. Recently, some employees have retired, and the council has not taken 1 minute to recognize these employees that have retired. I want to thank Oscar, our city manager, because he has taken the time to build up a committee to work on incentives for these people. But Blas Garcia and Rene Ganlas, that are part of our membership, that have been working for the city for at least 30 years, we had to get together and make a dinner for them. For Blas, I still owe him. I feel so bad. But we had a dinner. We gave them a watch in recognition to the service that they've done to the city. And most of the time, the council forgets that 90% of the membership that is Calexico municipal employees are residents of Calexico. You guys forget. You guys say residents, residents, residents. The employees are residents as well, the majority. In about 4 months, give or take, you guys are going to ask us to come to the table and negotiate again? And you guys, I don't know, you guys are going to ask us to give furloughs again? You guys are going to give us, I know Oscar's been doing a tremendous deal to save money for the city, and I recognize him for that. He's done a lot that past city managers have not done. I feel comfortable going to the table with him because from day one, he'll tell me what's going on, unlike in the past, I know Mr. Romero. But the reason that I wanted to talk to you is because we used to pay Social Security. We used to get paid the Social Security and the FICA. When Oscar Rodriguez was our city manager in the past, it was negotiated not to get raises for about 3 years, and instead the Social Security was given to the employees. It was taken away. It was imposed on us. And now it's brought up for 2 employees that probably deserve it. But how about the other employees that are part of this, Yes, thank you, Oscar, system. We are the workforce. The backbone of the city are the employees. When people come to City Hall, they see us before they see the city council. And, because Mr. Romero's going like that, I can go on, but 911, if I give you all a landline right now, and 3 of you dial 911, are you guys all going to get answered? No. Why? Because at some point, there's only one 911 dispatcher working. What are your priorities? I understand the library needs to be closed, but in case of an emergency, if 3 or 4 of us call 911, you guys are going to get put on hold. Is that what the city wants? Our dispatchers I was a dispatcher at one point. I love working. That's my passion. But now that I have children, it's hard to work shift work, and that's the only reason I do not want to go back. So just consider giving money at this point to other people, because when you ask me to come to the table and give up more of my salary, I'm going to say I want what she has, I want what he has, because we're all your children. And I know I'm not till the next item agenda, but number 9, the bid does a lot for the city. The bid does a lot for the city, but unfortunately, $44,000 of meters can pay for 2 part-time dispatchers at this point. And on a good note, just to close, I just want to say, I was really honored last week. Somebody came to look for me. I was a member of the Imperial Valley Food Bank, and I was invited to serve as a member in the Imperial Valley Food Bank. So I just want to thank them for thinking about me to represent Calexico as a member of the Imperial Valley Food Bank. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steven Garcia.
Good evening, Council. I'm here representing the Calexico Police Officers Association. Sorry my other representatives weren't able to come today. They're out of town. We got a couple concerns. Raises, you know, we all went through furloughs past 3 years. I myself, first year employment, was told I'll be laid off. Second year, told I might be laid off. We fought negotiations, furloughs. We gave up everything we could. Now to see that, you know, we all know we're going through this financial crisis. I know business here in Calexico, you know, we're doing okay. But to be giving people raises during a financial crisis, I believe it's unjust. We do have employees that have been laid off recently, part-time employees. You know, I'm sure they're collecting unemployment now. They'll be collecting unemployment for the next year. And I don't know if I could skip to 7A, where we're giving the firm $5,094 more a month. You know, I don't know if you know what that equals.
That's an incorrect amount.
That's an incorrect. Okay. Well, what I read is $5,094.
It's a year.
No, that's a year.
Okay. Well, either way,
5,000 a year.
we're giving people raises. People are being laid off. You know, we are coming to negotiations in a couple months. You know, what's that to say? If they're getting raises, why can't everyone else? You know, we all work hard. Ms. Hashem works hard. Ms. Line works hard. We all work hard. We all work hard for that dollar. So we disagree with any raises right now. It's, you know, it's hard for everyone. Everybody has to give up something. And that's all we have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gonzalez, you had already spoken earlier on this item. And what's the consensus of the council? Linda? You had already spoken on this item. You want to talk again? Define briefly. 30 seconds. Go ahead, sir. Mr. Moreno?
I'll time it.
You know, Oscar Gonzalez, native bulldog and son of a pioneer, you know, that's why I'm indignant. I'm indignant because I'm public, and I'm glad I'm retired, and I have a nice retirement money. But, you know, when I think the children, if you vote to grant any race, I want you to know that the children of those families are not going to have a white Christmas. The white Christmas is being negated to all the city employees that are in furlough. So go ahead and vote for the raises, and that means that those families, employees, their kids are not going to have a white Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Now,
Mr. Gonzalez, my child is going to have a white Christmas. She was born on Christmas Day, and even though I might not have the best of gifts to give her, I think that's why I want to put in a little bit more extra hours on my second job so I can give her a white Christmas. No, I'm just... On Veterans Day, Mr. Romero, you thanked all the veterans. I did that as well. I saw some veterans at Sears, and I thanked them, and I thank all the veterans present. But on Veterans Day I also celebrated a year of my husband being home after not having a job. My husband's been unemployed for 1 year. That day, Veterans Day, he came home a year ago. But I celebrated because he's been staying home with my children. He's been my daddy daycare. Yes, unemployment, but it's not enough. You know, and I can go on and tell you guys, but you know, thank you that I have a job. Thank the city that I have a job. I'm not unhappy with my job, but it's just sad that my husband is unemployed. Some of my coworkers' husbands are unemployed, and my coworkers that were working with me are unemployed. And thank you.
thank you, Ms. Lorena. All right. Consensus of the council. Motion. He's not going to motion. You going to motion?
I think the
You going to motion?
speakers that have spoken have legitimate reasons for saying what they've said. I too understand budget cuts. I know Mr. Hodge and I are working for an agency, a public agency within the city of Calexico that is facing major financial crisis. So at this time, I cannot motion to approve.
Okay. Since I'm chairing this and the motion's not coming out, I will motion to approve. Now, is there a second?
I'll second the motion, that way we can go ahead and vote.
Okay. Then go ahead and vote. Okay, 2-2. So it does not pass. All right, Mr. Moreno, item 7A.
Yes, I would, basically the same question I had on the first motion with regard to a little more specifics, if Mr. Rodriguez or Ms. Line could explain this a little more in depth.
I think the issue is similar, that this is an employment contract with an employee. That was the intent, was the 7.65 adjustment to the retainer. For clarification, it is not $5,000 a month. It is, the impact would be $5,000 more per year. This is only on the retainer amount, which is the $66,000, which, by the way, is reduced by $10,000 for the fiscal year salary adjustment. So, and the difference being that the contract with our firm is a services-based contract. So the level of services that are requested by the city, that is why the number fluctuates. We do not receive $600,000 every year. I personally do not receive $600,000 a year. And it's all based on services from the city. So.
Thank you. Lorena, you want to say something, or did you already say your piece?
I spoke in general.
Okay. Mr. Garcia? Where is he? Oh, there he is.
Stephen Garcia, CPOA board member. It's my understanding that the firm did receive almost $700,000 last year. We do pay the attorney, we pay her retirement, we pay her medical benefits.
No medical benefits.
Excuse me?
No medical benefits.
Well, we do pay her retirement then, correct? You know, that's a big chunk of money when, you know.
It's based off the 66,000.
We do pay some, correct?
It's just like it pays.
$700,000 is a big chunk of money for the city.
The retirement is not paid on the total amount that is given to the firm. It is, if you read the contract language, it is only based on the retainer amounts, just for that clarification.
Okay. Like I said, the CPOA, we're kind of concerned that we would be giving any kind of raise to anyone right now, being there is a financial crisis. You know, it's nothing against her. It's just, you know, through all, people are on furloughs. You know, you got people unemployed now. And like I said, that's all we have to say.
Thank you. You going to be brief? Are you going to be brief? Well, if you want to go that way about it, item number 7A is not here. Oh, Mr. Gonzalez, please feel free.
I would like to say a few comments.
Please, if you could be brief.
You know, Mrs. Lyon is misleading, and I'm going to explain and show how. You know, the way I told Mr. Castro before he left to watch, hey, her thing is not on the agenda, and I saw the agenda. Well, I don't know the law firm she works for, but you know, let me say one thing. I don't think Mrs. Lyon makes $67,000 a year from here. She makes money from her law firm too. And she may not want to disclose it, but I know it's more than $67,000. If I were an attorney and I was only making $67,000, I wouldn't be an attorney, I'd be a teacher. So therefore, Mrs. Lyon is misleading.
With all due respect to the teachers.
Yeah, in all due respect, and I don't have anything, I don't even know the lady, but I know my city, and I'm concerned for the police department. They need staff, everybody needs staff. She doesn't make 67, she makes more as an attorney from that law firm, and I wish she could disclose that, and she's not, so I'm speaking against the motion.
Okay.
The same thing is, they're not gonna, when I told Lorena that her kids were not gonna have, please don't take it out of context, and I apologize. And I apologize, but the fact of the matter, if I make the money that I made last year, I can just imagine what my kids would get. They're getting less than, because they're getting 36 hours. So that's what I was talking about. But you guys, I saw 2-2, and I waved my head, dije, qué desmadre. You know, I wish that all of you would have voted no. But I saw the two guys or the two persons that voted for that race, and I'll remember that. Believe me, I'll remember it. That makes me more indignant for those councilmen. Thank you.
Thank you. And, all right, Mr. June Kim.
No wonder we don't have business. All the citizens in Calexico, they got cut in salaries. And then they lost a lot of job. As a merchants, we don't have business neither. A lot of my fellow business person, they are crying because I believe some of the business they closed the last month, they worked out, and they're still in the problem. This problem, and they're financially they're in trouble to maintain their business. And city of Calexico every Friday is closed, the library is closed, and lots of employees been followed. Lorena was mentioned that we had 150 employees, now we have 70 employees. Just like even is not enough of the backbone staff. Everybody's cut, except the contract of the lawyers, they want more money. I encourage our city council persons to don't take any increasement anymore until we put all the service back to the community. That has to be supposed to be first step before increase any salaries, to put the service back to the community. That's our city council's job to do it, that they owe to our community. I strongly suggest to city council to make the motion to approve this budget with the cut of their salaries, their contract of the amount. Everybody taking a cut. Why they not they don't want to take the cut? At least 20%, if not 10%. Thank you.
Okay. For the record, everybody's taking the 10% cut. There are no other requests for 7A. Council?
My reason for not at this, for approving at this time is I'd rather see negotiations with the employees settled first before anything else is considered at this time. And I can't, with a conscience, move on this at this time. So when the employees' unions get their settlement, then I would like to entertain and bring it back.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Is there a motion? You're being recorded, Mr. Gonzalez. Is there a motion? whatever. It's a motion to approve, to pass, or whatever. Well, Mr. Gonzalez, I'm going to have you remember me. I'm motioning to approve. Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that motion.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Please vote. Okay, 2-2, it does not pass. All right. Mr. Gonzalez, you can talk when you come to the podium. You're not at the podium right now. We're going to go into public hearing, number 8. Okay. Now, let me see here. I will, I'm going to start by, okay, this public hearing. Comments can be shared first, right? Yes? Okay, I'm going to open this, before I go for public hearing. One of the things that the Mayor Castro knows that we had a conversation over a year ago that I would support his busing service to get to be working with the city, but obviously it's a situation that that we have to make sure that everything is complied with. Now, it's the same question I ask usually at other times when there's change orders and contracts, and I'm going to ask it again. The public hearing in the previous council mentioned 3 names, and this one did too. 3 business names: Imperial Rapid Services, Inc., Calexico Transit System, and Kennedy Transit Service. I'm going to ask the city manager or finance to please inform me if the 3 business licenses are active and if they are current.
Well, first of all, a bus service does not per se have a business license. What they have is a certificate of public convenience and necessity. It's a totally different application. If they have an office to sell tickets, then they would be required a business license. According to our records, Calexico Transit System has a business license. However, there is a file for each certificate of public convenience and necessity, and those files are not housed in the finance department.
I'm sorry, certificate of public?
It's called a certificate of public convenience and necessity.
Okay.
And with a certificate of public convenience and necessity, it requires that the applicant go before the city council for approval, so there's a whole process different from a business license.
Is that an annual process or?
No,
is
no,
this
no, that's a
one-time?
one-time process, and I believe several years ago, Mr. Castro might have, Kennedy's Transit, I believe, was originally owned by Alberto Rico, and I believe Mr. Castro took over his certificate. So it's a different process, and they pay per bus. But according to, and let me clarify, because we do bill it on our business license register simply because it's easier to include them on that billing schedule. However, according to our records, I checked today, only Calexico Transit has a business license, a certificate of public convenience and necessity.
Okay. Before we go into the public hearing, I'll ask Mr. Juan Castro a question, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think that wherever the files are resident that contain the public convenience and necessity and all the other documents, because each time a bus a new bus is put on the route, they have to issue, someone has to issue a certificate to that bus. When they pull that bus off the route, then they have to bring that certificate in, and it's canceled or voided.
I'm
So
sorry, I
then
lost
they're-
you. It's per bus?
Per bus. It's a certificate, like a half-sheet size. It's a certificate that staff has to fill out and sign, and then we issue it to each bus. I don't know if the process is still being followed. That's what's supposed to, because about 20 years ago, I took care of that process. But in the meantime, I know it's been given to different departments, such as redevelopment, the city manager's office, and I honestly, because finance has been out of the loop in quite some time, so I really don't know who's in charge of those files now, but whatever department those files are resident, there would probably be, documents in there to indicate if they should have a license or not.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Castro, are you familiar with this certificate of public convenience and necessity?
Sure, yeah.
Do you have them in file?
What's that?
Do you have them in file?
Yes, we do.
Can you bring them to City Hall? The
Yes.
copies for every bus? How many buses do you have?
Yes.
How many buses do you have?
Operating 8 buses. And we have more, we have, it's a 10 for Calexico Transit, and it was originally 10 for Calexico Transit, and I believe 10 for Kennedy Transit, but they're not all in operation.
Okay, so the ones that would not be in operation would not be having these certificates?
No, the certificates are there, but you know how the economy is, it's not convenient to be running 20 buses. I don't know.
Okay, but you have
Do we have them? Yes,
current
we have them,
and
yes.
active certificates?
Of course, yes.
Okay, then that's great news. Now, you have, can you clarify the role of Imperial Rapid Services, Inc., Calexico Transit System,
Sure.
and Kennedy Transit Service?
Imperial Rapid Service is a corporation, and Calexico Transit System and Kennedy Transit are operating, doing business as. So, Imperial Rapid Service is a corporation. We incorporated, basically, is what happened.
Okay, so it's like the parent company of the other two?
Yes.
Imperial Rapid Services, okay. All right, then, I guess, you mentioned Kennedy and you mentioned Calexico Transit.
Correct.
Imperial Rapid Services does not have buses. It's the other two that are under the DBA.
Well, as of right now, no. But we're actually have a meeting with Mr. Ralph Morales tomorrow to negotiate, including Imperial Rapid Service as in a transit route.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Castro.
You're welcome.
Also, City Attorney, if you can please make a clarification on the probability of any conflict of interest with Mayor Luis Castro being the father of Juan Castro, President of Imperial Rapid Services, Inc. Does this present itself to any conflict of interest, even in his absence? Obviously, if no, that's excellent. If yes, and how does the council proceed?
As Mayor Castro indicated at the last council meeting, he was going to, or he disqualified himself as to setting the public hearing. He would also disqualify himself if he were here tonight. The council is still allowed to vote on this, being that he's disqualified or absent, because this does not constitute a contract with the provider. This is just a ministerial duty of the council to hold the public hearing and to approve the requested rate additions. So no, there is no conflict of interest for the council to take action tonight.
Okay, great. Before we go to public hearing, is it possible, because since these certificate of public convenience and necessity are not in file with Finance Director, if the council were so choose to decide to approve this after the public hearing, can it go with the condition that Mr. Castro, Juan Castro, presents these certificates?
Yes, I believe it can. The way the municipal code reads, the rate changes wouldn't take effect until 30 days after approval by the city council, so that gives plenty of time to review the certificates brought in by Mr. Castro.
Can you do that, Mr. Castro? Thank you. All right. Unless there's no other comments by any council members, I'll open the public hearing. No? No. Okay, public hearing opens at 8:17. Anybody in favor of this, anybody, let me go back. Anybody against this item, please come forward. No one. Anybody in favor of this item, please come forward.
My name's Oscar Gonzalez. I probably have over 40 years' experience with public utilities. Mr. Alberto Rico, when he got a subsidy through Mr. Louis Legaspi, I was the one that got his PUC. When Marlene Thomas, who did Valley Transit, I did her PUC. I've done many PUCs statewide. So I'm well aware of this service, Mr. Romero and council and ladies and gentlemen. What I don't understand, it boggles my mind why you have to be so picky. They told you that it's not a conflict of interest. You would have loved for the attorney to have said, yeah, it is a conflict.
On the contrary, Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay. But it seems to me the way you were probing, and that's my opinion.
It's not probing, as asking is clarifying for
Well,
the
what's
public.
the difference? It's the same thing, probing
No,
and
it's
asking.
asking for the public.
Well, to me it is, but anyway, I'm in favor because they're not actually asking for a subsidy. They haven't asked for a subsidy. The only thing he's asking is to give him permission so that he can provide a service that is needed from the new port of entry to Calexico, different times. And obviously, Mr. Jovan would not be here tonight if he didn't have his crap or shit together. He's got all those, I've seen him. I've seen those certificates. Yeah.
What's important is the finance director had those certificates.
Well, they will
I
get
know Mr. Jovan already said that he has them in file, and he'll bring them forward.
Thank you, but you doubted him. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I just want to say we're not increasing our rates. We're trying to give discounts to students, and the 250 is like a day pass, so it's also a convenient pass for our customers. So we're not increasing our rates. We're actually getting them lower to promote our services.
So you're just diversifying.
Right.
Everything's basically staying
We're
the same.
just following the process that has to be done under all the municipal codes and all that.
Okay.
So we're asking for your permission.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in favor? No one else, and I guess we'll close the public hearing at 8:19. What are the wishes of the council? Comments? None? Right. But is there city attorney approval? I mean, is there a vote for this item?
Yes.
Okay.
It does say that the city council shall determine whether the rate change shall be granted or denied.
That's correct.
Yes. The decision is to be made, well, council can make the decision tonight because you've held the public hearing now. It was advertised as the municipal code says. And then the change becomes effective 30 days after council approval of it.
Can the 30 days be, just to make sure that before the 30 days is there, is that Mr. Jovan Castro does present these certificates?
If that's council's wishes, then you just would make a motion saying you approve the rate increase, subject to Mr. Castro bringing these certificates.
It's not a rate increase. It's not a rate increase.
I'm sorry, not a rate increase, but the rate.
The program.
The rate changes.
Yes.
That council would approve those, subject to Mr. Castro bringing those copies in, or, the city finding the copies of them.
Okay. Consensus of the council?
I would move to approve.
I would second that.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, 4-0. Congratulations, Mr. Castro. If you can please bring the certificates to the finance director. All right. Go to item number 9, adopt resolution allowing sidewalk sales and waive parking meter fee for a specified time period in November and December 2011.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Morris Reisen, Chairman of the BID, Business Improvement District. I'm here, we had a unanimous approval from the BID members asking the City Council to adopt this resolution to give us this time to to bring out merchandise and naturally going with the code enforcement, whatever rules we need that we did last year. We've been coming here for the last 4 or 5 years and asking for that. Our business increase is always 20% at least, and we need help. And I think last year was $35 for the permit, and plus the insurance for every merchant that brings out merchandise. So that's what we're asking again, to just extend it, this ordinance that we had last year, that we placed it last year, and just
There's no discussion on the permit fee
Pardon me?
in the backup material. I did not see any
Well,
any
last year
comment
it was,
regarding the permit fee.
well, the ex-city manager, Victor Carrillo, had, I don't know who has the $35, but it was $35 last year.
City Manager, can you give us any direction on this permit fee?
Well, there's no, on the request, there was nothing in reference to what that fee would be. I don't know what it is now. Do we know what that fee is? Ralph, do you know what that fee is? Is it 35 or is it more than that?
I think the current fee right now is $135 for the application, but...
$135?
Yes, but it is true that the past city manager had waived the fees, and I think that was $25, not $35. But if my memory serves me right, it was a one-time deal. It wasn't something that was supposed to continue. It was just for that period of time and not to be continued on.
Well, if it pleases the council, I would like to go back to the $35 and renew it, adopt this resolution with a $35 fee, and to go on till December 31st, please.
City Attorney, before us is in the discussion of the sidewalk sales and waive the parking meter fee. Can the fee of $35 be included in this resolution?
Because the resolution references that they have to file an agreement with Development Services Department where the fee is charged, if council wants to make that specification to the resolution, I believe you can do it. If you don't address it, then the fees would need to be at the $135. That's the rate that it's set.
Okay, now, these permit fees, the $135, this is during the off-season? Is the $135 like for a merchant right now? Or
The
how do you base the
$135 is the fee now. I think they're asking it to go to $35 for the Christmas season, is that correct?
That's correct.
No,
Christmas
yeah,
season.
but
I
when
believe
I-
that the 135 was for year-round on a Wednesday basis. They used to take them out on a Wednesday at
May
the
I
swap meet.
correct you? In the past, the 35 were sidewalk sales were allowed, and they were allowed at $35 per month when we had sidewalk sales. Say you wanted November and December, it's 35 for November, 35 for December, and you would have to provide the liability insurance saying that the city is not liable for accidents. Now, sidewalk sales were eliminated by the city council. We no longer have sidewalk sales. The permit they're applying for is a temporary use under the planning department. The temporary use permit is $135 per event. Sidewalk sales were eliminated by the city council.
It's my recollection that last year we started on the 25th of November, right after Thanksgiving, so.
Right, and they were 35 a month. So if
No,
you
it was
applied in
35
November,
It was 35 for the, no, you're wrong. It was 35 for the whole.
I'm not, Morris, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It was 35 a month for November and 30, we can pull out our records. That's what Mr. Carrillo allowed, was 35 per month for each month that was going to be served.
Well,
Because
now-
in the past, sidewalk sales were allowed for longer periods of time. So it takes more to go out and check for fire prevention and for code enforcement. $25, $35 is not enough for the manpower. Because, say, for example, Morris gets a sidewalk sale permit, and he brings out his things, he has his application. His neighbor in front is going to see that, and he's going to pull out. So we have to go and let them know, you need to put your things inside, and you need to go and apply for a sidewalk sale, and you need the insurance liability allowing you to continue having the sidewalk sale. But it was a monthly fee.
If you remember last year, I policed most of it. I policed all the merchants I remember that because they were taking boxes outside, and the chief, Pedrosa, wanted us to change it to plastic boxes, and we changed it. So I've been doing a lot of policing myself, and we did a good job last year. So.
All right.
Can you also tell us a little bit what you mentioned to me about having our vendors or our business owners in downtown opening for Black Friday?
We're going to be open at at least 80% of the merchants will be open at 5 a.m. on Black Friday. And hopefully we'll have the merchandise out in the street, or in the sidewalk anyway. For that, we're going to have music out there and plenty of lights. But we need the help. We need the merchandise on the sidewalk. We have to increase business and show people that we're working together, and we hope that the city council will work with us on this. We have to build up business here. You know, we had a rough year. The summer was very, very rough. So we're just asking for $35, and let us get going on this, and should work out.
Last year was $35 a month. Is that what you're asking?
No, last year from the 25th, the day after Thanksgiving, it started at $35 until the end of the year, till the 31st of December.
Well, it's only like 5
It was a one-time fee. That's why I come here every year
One-time
asking the
fee,
city
Christmas
council.
season.
I come here every year asking the city council to give us a break. You know, it's 30 days or 35 or 40 days. It's, 8 to 10 days won't make that much of a difference. We need help. We need the merchandise. And I myself don't do sidewalk sales because I'm in an off street, but First Street and Second Street, they need it. And I'm here representing them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rising.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, with regard to the waiving of the parking meters, I recall that last year what happened is that we were still enforcing the 2-hour.
They're enforcing the 2 hours is fine.
Okay.
I was always for the parking meters because they had 3 employees. Now, they got rid of the 3 employees that were ticketing people, and I don't know where the money goes. $40,000 is not going to increase Lorena's wages. I don't know where the money goes. I believe it goes to a general fund, but we have to stop. It works together. The sidewalk sales and the taking of the parking meters, they work together to build a business. Now, I myself, or the bid, we're thinking about putting a bag over the meters and thanking the people, or telling them anyway, you get 2-hour free parking from the city of Calexico and the bid. And we'll put it big letters, and that way they can save on that. Because I had a customer that came the other day and bought some needles, 25-cent needles. They got a $23 ticket. And he came from Imperial because he didn't know they were ticketing on Sundays. But anyway, it all works together. It's like a family deal. It works together. We have to work together like that. We have to take out the meters and take the merchandise, and we'll have a good business. And more sales tax, more revenue for the Calexico.
So let me get this straight, Mr. Rising. You're asking for a $35 flat fee for the Christmas season?
I'm asking for the $35.
$2-hour.
I really want 3
parking
hours,
meter
but I guess you
Just
have
cover
your
the
backup
meters.
at 2 hours. I would like 3 hours because it takes, a normal person takes 45 minutes to buy a shirt, 45 minutes to buy shoes, and about an hour to eat a Jack in the Box at McDonald's. It's over 2 hours. They get rushed. We got to keep the people downtown, and the way to keep them downtown is get 3-hour parking. We're only asking for 40 days at a 3-hour rate. But if you can't do it, I'll take the 2 hours.
Yeah, but then also you want to keep the flow. You want to keep the flow going too.
Pardon me?
You want to keep the flow going of the customers that can actually park, because parking is an issue.
But you want to keep the ones that are buying. And by
Right.
parking 3 hours, they're going to buy anyway. They're going to move. They're going to rotate. We'll rotate the cars or ticket them. They don't. I think they're more concerned about putting the money in there than the $23, because they're always asking for change. They'll move the cars after 3 hours, but if you can't do the 3 hours, we'll settle with 2 hours.
I got a parking meter when I had jury duty last week in El Centro, $20. And there was no gain of money to me to go to that jury duty.
Would you get $5 for your jury? Yeah. So we're asking, we'll pay the $35, just asking for sidewalk sales for about 38 to 40 days.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morris. There's I don't see him. Mr. Gonzalez asked to talk on this item. So,
He's outside.
okay, what's the consensus of the council?
I move for a motion to amend, well, are we going to amend the resolution to?
Include 3 hours?
Include the $35 fee from November 25th to December 31st, correct?
I think you have it there at starting tomorrow, but we'll
It
take,
starts November 16th, according to the resolution.
Oh, I
That's
see.
fine. That's
Okay.
better.
Would you not be in conflict of interest?
Oh.
No, she's
I
not a
don't sell
merchant.
items.
She's not a
Oh,
merchant.
you sell
I
services?
sell services.
Okay.
Please,
If you like, I could.
my apologies. Lorena.
I'll stand next to Morris.
Are you sure?
With all due respect, and Morris knows because I'm his customer, the bid has been doing a lot for the city. And as I shared in the beginning, this was my opinion as a union leader, not as a personal, I'm not here to attack the bid. The bid has done a lot. I spent most of Halloween night downtown and in the event that they had for our residents. You guys are giving money to clean our city. We've had conversations. And just to make a point, this is not only my salary. There's other employees. And I just felt that it was a need. 44,000 could employ 2 dispatchers is what I said. It wasn't, I'm not a dispatcher anymore. I just wanted to make that point. But, it's something that's been done year after year, and the city expects it, the city residents expect it, but it's a crisis. We're in a fiscal crisis. And I just wanted to share that with you. Now, Morris knows I'm his customer, and I'll continue to be his customer if he allows me to.
Yeah, he doesn't like me, and I still go to his store. Anyway.
I'll admit I try to avoid him.
All right, there's a
Just
motion
kidding, Morris.
by Councilwoman Hurtado to adopt the resolution, including the permit for
For 3
$35
hours.
during the Christmas period.
And it's a 2-hour limit?
Or
3.
2.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, passes 4-0.
Thank you, Morris.
Good luck. Okay, number 10, introduction by
5 o'clock
title
in the
only, waive full reading of ordinance 1133, adopting the 2010 California
Just one
Fire
more
Code.
item, I'm sorry, for Mr. Risen. For the Charger gear, could you put it at half price now? Okay.
That's the only way you're going to get rid of it. Or
I
two
did all my
aside.
Christmas shopping at Morris's.
All right, let's go back. Item number 10, introduction by title only, waive full reading of ordinance 1133, adopting the 2010 California Fire Code and the 2009 International Fire Code with local amendments. City Manager, Fire Chief?
I think Fire Chief will address this.
Good evening, Pete Mercado, Fire Chief. What we're bringing in front of you is the formal adoption of the 2010 Fire Code and the 2009 International Fire Code, which is the same document. California moved to adopt the international standard a little bit different than they used to, and as you can read in the report, they used to adopt it every 3 years, adopt it as a uniform fire code with California-specific amendments. So they had 2 codes, and what they wanted to do to make it more uniform is adopt a standard, best industry standard type code. So they adopted the International Fire Code. In June 2010, that became law. And for every city that in California had to formally adopt the code, only if there was specific amendments that they were adopting specific to their city, which made it more restrictive on the code. So after reviewing the amendments, I've adopted about 9 of them, or I'm asking to adopt 9 of them that are pertinent to our city to make them in addition to the standard already adopted state code so that we can have our formal code. The city of Calexico hasn't adopted the fire code since 1992. So there's a lot of language that was removed and clarified and kind of cleaned up a little bit. So the housekeeping is in place now, so we're set from this point forward. to have a newly adopted code addressing all the needs of the community.
Is this a generic template kind of adoption where you have to upgrade you said every 3 years, but it has not been done since '92?
Correct. So
Okay.
the state of California just, they're back on that 3-year cycle.
Okay.
So the Building Standards Commission sits together, decides what are the best options for the industry, and decides what is going to be our best practices manual for fire code. And they do the same for building code, electrical, mechanical, on and on. So this is just the actual formal adoption for the fire code for our city. And we figured that we needed to really jump on top of this because there were certain regulations that are in this code that may become a factor in future construction in Calexico. Because if you just adopt, without even adopting the code, the California code is the law. But to make it more restrictive to our city's needs, we have to adopt the amendments, which is what we're doing right now, the entirety plus the amendments.
Thank you.
So it's already in the state books?
Correct, without the amendments.
Okay.
Without the amendments, but the additional 9 amendments that we thought were pertinent to our city, some include hazardous materials waste storage, fire lane access, fire flow requirements, and all these standards have already been put in place. A good example is fire flow requirements for this new port of entry proposed project. Given our current adopted standards, the standards that we've raised them to would no longer be valid. They could actually lower the requirements, which would actually hurt our fire capabilities. So that's just one example of many that geared us towards moving forward with this project when we had a good opportunity to do so like right now.
Thank you. Consensus of the council?
I would motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. Please vote. Can you get Measure H to help with this thing, Oscar? Aye. Gee, man, it's crickets. There you go.
It's not the machine.
And Mayor Pro Tem Romero,
Yes.
if I may.
Of course.
This is it was actually the introduction by title only, waive full reading. I will go ahead and read the title now.
Yes, please.
It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, amending Chapter 15.20 of the Calexico Municipal Code by adopting the California Fire Code 2010 edition and 2009 International Fire Code and repealing Chapter 15.22 in its entirety. And it will be back for adoption at your next regular council meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Number 11, discussion and possible action related to inclusion of mayor's message in the final 2011-2012 budget document. Okay. Any discussion by the council? Go ahead, Mr. Hodge.
All right, I'll start off first.
Yes. Let me get the council's comments first.
Okay, these 2 items, I have done a lot of deliberation. I have learned that it's been past practice and to allow the mayor's message in the budget document, I read it, it's been going on for a few years, so past practice, sort of a tradition. And I believe that there is no substantial reason to change that practice now. Putting aside Mayor Castro's writing style, I personally found, and I've read this over again like Councilman Moreno has and others, I really didn't find anything fundamentally wrong with the letter. There are some areas that could be revised without a doubt, but whether we have 2 types of city mayors, as far as what I understand have taught in government. We have one that we call strong mayorship, which is elected exclusively by the public. Prime example would be in San Diego. And then we have what we call a weak mayorship, which the city council appoints and rotates on a yearly basis. Irregardless of which type the public looks to the mayor of any given time as the major spokesman and figurehead, and they expect a yearly message from their mayor. It's traditional, and they understand that the mayor's message is his or her perspective on past status, current status, and future vision of the city. And that is, in my opinion, exactly what Mayor Castro has provided with his message. I see what he had to do. He made a decision. Which audience was he going to write to? When you're writing, you always have to consider your audience. He made a decision to write to his constituents, to his citizens here in Calexico, instead of mainly using the letter as a, what would you call it, maybe, public relations vehicle to entice outside business or developers. In fact, I don't find very much wrong with it. I think it's relatively factual, and I applaud him for his honesty and courage to tell it like it is. Now, as far as the content of Mayor Castro's letter, again, I find it fundamentally sound and accurate. If you'll permit me, I looked it over. The first part states past problems. It points out that we have had a debt. We did have a debt. We're barely coming out of the debt. And that we have moved from, quote unquote, an emergency to a, he uses the word, severe financial and fiscal crisis. One could maybe look at that word severe. Now, we've heard some good news recently, but in all fairness to Mayor Castro, he did not know about this good news that's coming up. But it appears to me that we still are in a fiscal crisis, which is evident to be true by the fact that we continue to be the only Imperial Valley city on furloughs and closed on Fridays. Now, if we are not in a fiscal crisis, then why are we still closed on Fridays and continue to have furloughs? Further down in the letter, Mayor Castro stresses the need to continue to focus on reducing expenditures. Here, I would say would have to be revised, the letter. We have gotten some expenditures down. That's good news. But again, to all fairness, he didn't know the latest news. Further in the letter, he presents his vision and goals. I find that positive for the city, which consist of many ideas that would raise the quality of citizens' life here. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, if these two resolutions are passed tonight, the information that I have touched upon will be censored, and you, the public, will not have the right to know, to be informed. And you, the public, will not have the right to decide on your own the facts of the matter. And always remember, most facts are subject to interpretation. I strongly urge my council, and I totally agree in many areas of their concerns, to vote no on this possible action. I say that we, in order to allow this to be, we are continuing with the freedom of expression to exist. If we don't allow this, like other past mayors, to have this in the budget, then we are negating our freedom of expression. So that's all I have to say on this item, and then I'll have more on the other item.
Mr. Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. With regard to Mayor Castro's letter, I disagree with Mr. Hodge. I believe that this could have been addressed in perhaps maybe a state of the city, but even at that time, I don't agree with the content nor the form, and I'll share my reasons why. His first sentence is, the city is in a financial and fiscal crisis. I believe in the past couple of years we've moved out of that. We came out last year out of the red, and this year, like Mr. Hodge says, looks even better. The city manager and the department heads have cut spending across the board, and it's evident, and this would continue. The passing of Measure H has also helped the city with its budget move in a positive skew. I feel that the letter is based on a lot of emotion and not enough fact. And Mr. Castro puts in his letter that he was elected mayor when actually he was appointed mayor. And it is known that he has badgered department heads at public meetings, specifically the fire chief and the police chief, who've answered his questions repeatedly, and I believe they provided sufficient information. Number 3, the letter reads like a campaign letter. If you look at page 2, it is a classic campaign letter, and campaign letters have no place on city's website. In fact, many bullet points refer to more expenditures. The letter contradicts itself. As a school administrator, I take ill exception to his improving the quality of education in our schools. That is not the City Council's responsibility. Item number 4, Mr. Castro is not an expert on the intricacies of city finance. Nowhere in the letter does Mr. Castro cite examples of expenditures. There is no factual details. I say leave it to the experts in the finance department and the city administration to give us their interpretation of those numbers. Number 5, Mr. Castro is one of 5 policymakers elected by the public to set policy. The role of the mayor is a ceremonial one that runs the meetings. It is not a full-time position. Therefore, he does not need to spend countless hours at City Hall micromanaging. I would hope that Mr. Castro understand this and move forward. He has no more power than any other member on this council. Mr. Castro blames previous councils and administrations for the city's current situation. Playing the blame game gets us nowhere. In this letter, he blames the current council as well, therefore blaming himself, but never really coming out and saying it. Over the last 20 years, many developments have been completed, and there are more in store. Where is the focus on the positive things that have occurred? This letter does not express the balance of the council's approval. The other members are not in agreement by the travesty displayed by this letter. Finally, I feel that summaries by the finance director, Ms. Judy Hashem, and city manager Oscar Rodriguez be shared with the public. I also feel that Mr. Castro retract this letter and provide an explanation for taking it upon himself to post this on the website. Remember, what goes on this website, Mr. Hodge, is for the world to read. Do we really want to paint a negative, false picture of our city? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Councilwoman Hurtado.
Yes. This item that we're looking at right now is the question about this message being attached to the 2011-2012 budget document. I agree with you, Councilman Hodge. We should have freedom of expression. However, with power and authority comes great responsibility. And that responsibility is to inform the public of correct and factual information. I did have a conversation, and I tried to understand why this message was written in this manner with this tone, this negative tone, because I know that all of us have worked very hard to try to turn things around. And my question to him, I know he's not here today, but I know I had this question, and also towards Mr. Gonzalez, was what information this was based upon. And that is what concerns me, is that the fact that this letter starts off with very alarming information concerns me, because it's not factual. And I believe that we're already at a point at this moment where we'll soon be seeing some financial figures as far as how we closed 2010, 2011. And so I believe that once that information is provided, which I believe we may be ready to provide that today, is that correct?
Yes, we have just this week finished the June 30th Indian reports. And I actually can share that with you if you'd like.
I would love that.
Our Indian balance as of June 30th. Give you the exact number. The ending balance as of June 30th, 2011 was $811,950 in the plus.
That is your, this is our ending balance for 2011, 2010, 2011.
$800,000.
When did we become aware of that, Mr. Rodriguez, as a council?
I think you became aware of it just recently, within the last week. The Finance Department has been working diligently in the last 60, 90 days to close off the June 30th. So we just got a report, if you recall, last week, which I shared with some of you, in reference where we thought the number was going to come out. And today, or as of yesterday, we actually have the actual number.
Was there a perception of how much it would be sometime back, not just recently?
Well, I know that the staff and the administration and staff has been working very, very hard to try to control what it can. As I shared with some of you recently, the revenues are difficult to control because a lot of it is a function of the economy. And when the economy does not cooperate, then obviously that makes it very difficult. We cannot control that. The number that I can give you there is that our budgeted numbers and our actuals as of June 30th on our revenue side actually cooperated a little bit in that our revenue was actually up 2% in the general fund, which is good news. But what we can control and what we've been diligently trying to control since the beginning of this year is our expenses, because that is something that we can control. And the good news there is that our budget was scheduled at $17.8 million roughly in reference to expenditures for this year, 2010, 2011. And our expenditures, we closed out the year with our expenditures being $16,800,000 approximately. Therefore, we were able to cut from the budget $1 million, and that's what put us where we are today. Now, does that mean that we're done doing what we need to do? No, of course not. There's a lot more that needs to be done, and we have certain processes that we're putting into place so that this coming year, hopefully we can continue to work ourselves out of the situation that we're in, and that obviously our goal is to return some of the cuts that we have made, and the employees have been gracious to work with me in negotiations. We're hoping to restore some of that, as well as restore some of the services that we have unfortunately had to cut to the community to get us through this. So we're looking at and striving to provide some of those services back into the community, such as trying to open up at least every other Friday come July 1. So, you know, it's good news. I think we should all share in that and rejoice in that. Is it over? No. We still have a lot of work to be done. But by the same token, I think we're headed in the right direction, and with the administration and the council and everybody working together along with the unions, I think we can get there.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I believe that the reason that we're discussing this at this time is because I know that I reached out to Mayor Castro to discuss revising the letter, and as you said, Councilman Hodge, there are areas that should have been revised, and they should have, before having taken on the decision to have posted on the website. We should have revised it. There should have been review by the staff to ensure that it was factual, and that did not happen. That was an independent decision, and with such information that, yes, it's being shared with the residents of Calexico, which, as you say, it appears that that's who he was directing this message to. However, I believe that that's where this is being, the focus is lost, is that this is not a message just for the residents of Calexico. This is a message that's going to be attached to a budget that's going to be reviewed by anyone who's interested in coming to the city. So the first thought that I had when I read this was, I was shocked. And if I didn't know more information because I sit here, then I would definitely not want to have anything to do with the city and any businesses, or maybe even want to move out. And so I believe that where my concern is allowing for the lack of responsibility in ensuring that what is being placed on our website represents this group as a whole, because this group is working as a team, and as a team, when a public message is being issued that represents the city of Calexico, it should be basically the consensus of this group. And especially if we're going to be talking about finances and something that we're working this hard on to improve, and that our information should be fair and balanced, basically. So as far as freedom of speech and freedom of expression, I believe definitely we all should have that. However, again, with that freedom, we should also be very responsible, especially in this day and age. So I am in agreement that we do have a policy that will provide some type of management in what information is being allowed on our website. So, thank you.
Thank you. Before I go with my message on this, I will go ahead and ask Mr. Jun Kim to please come forward.
Can you give it to the council, please? I wasn't sure tonight I found that you guys broke the Brown Act. Where you guys discussing about these issues without the public knows? The oldest council person said they was talking with Mr. Castro. You broke the Brown Act clearly. We have lawyers there. I already gave the pamphlet. There's anybody, I assume you guys had the closed session was discussed. There's not any performance of the elected person shouldn't be in the closed sessions. They only limited litigations, contracts of the contractors, and certain of the employments, personal reasons. That any person of the performance of the elected person cannot be in the closed session, cannot be discussed there. And how you guys got brought up to discuss with the mayor, to everybody's, they broke the Brown Act, it's serial meeting. Or if you guys have a last closed session, that's the broke the Brown Act law, it shouldn't be in the closed session, and lawyer let it happen. That's why I'm asking the 20% cut their contracts. I found it clearly, you guys broke the Brown Act. I'll complain to the DA office. And again, it's not fair. You guys put in the agenda knowingly if the mayor is not here. That's coward.
That's right.
That's coward, you guys. You're coward political games. When the mayor wants to write the letter, put on the website or address to the public, I believe that he contact with the lawyer or everything is supposed to be in the right purpose. As any city clerk has found anything wrongly to city that is not in happens, Ms. Cordova, can you give me some answer for that?
What was your question?
Is mayor's letter is something not correct information there. A lot of people they read the letter, they don't find anything wrong. And we were also mentioning about we are in the positive. About 2 meetings ago, our city council made the resolution to give the power city manager transfer all the unrestricted funds, which is not the general fund, to put into the general fund. They can manage it. So, voila, the city manager, they found that $800,000. I don't know from where. Just public, playing by the numbers there and there. End of the year, they say, oh, we don't have it. I have 20 years of experience with the city council. They had lots of money there, and the people public was asking the help. Suddenly they said there's no money in the city. Just playing by the numbers, transfer the money here and there, just hiding games. Is that the same one? Because I'm mentioning because the city manager is mentioning on this.
Mr. Kim,
and these issues.
And,
yes, I'm going to closing chapters.
Please, thank you.
Mayor has right to express his opinions. Like Ms. Marcelo Hurtado was telling that is truth. Mayor expressed his right, and we still have the budget crisis. That's why our city council, city's office close it, libraries close it, and city employees can follow.
Mr. Kim?
And yes, so what I say this one is coward political games. Don't try to be a mother-in-law.
Mr. Kim, I think you have enough time to share your opinion.
Or a political monopoly game it is.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez,
You know,
you have
I know how you're going to vote. You're going to vote to implement it, so it doesn't bother me that you don't want to speak, because you already took your mask off. I've heard what you intend to do. You and Mr. Moreno were the ones that convinced Mrs. Hurtado. But let me just say this. It doesn't matter on what side of the fence you're on this issue. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. What Mr. Moreno said is debatable. What Ms. Hurtado said is debatable. I agree with her because I did talk to her. And maybe the letter could have been written in a positive way, but Luis never wanted it to be that. After I spoke with you, I spoke with him for 2 hours, and seemed like he was determined and he's not going to change it. And I thought about it over the weekend, and I saw him Sunday, and I said, don't change it. You know, and let me just say why. I'm here, and I feel really, really sad that Mr. Romero and Mr. John Moreno and Ms. Hurtado don't understand our basic American government. We have a legislative that make the laws. We have an executive that enforces, and a judicial that interprets that law. It seems to me, I'm not an attorney, but what Mr. Moreno, what Mr. Romero and Ms. Hurtado, they're trying to be a judge and jury. They can't do that. And I'm surprised that the city attorney didn't say anything, because, like Mr. Kim said, it was discussed in executive session. That's illegal. It's a violation of the Brown Act, because they did not bring it out in public, because they were social and political cowards not to bring it out. So you go ahead, 3 people, gang up 3, go ahead and vote. But I guarantee that Luis is going to fight you tooth and nail. And I agree with Mr. Hodge, because he's very educated, as I am. I didn't go to San Diego State. I didn't go here in Calexico. I went to University of California, Santa Barbara, and I graduated with a BA. I graduated with a master's in public administration from Cal State Northridge 41 years ago, and I still have that knowledge. And I'm surprised, Mr. Romero, that conflict of interest you were asking when Mr.
That's a different issue. We've already discussed it.
It doesn't matter.
Don't go
But
in.
what I'm saying, you could have asked the internet. You don't have to ask the attorney.
Yes, I do.
You already knew what the answer was.
No, I didn't.
No creo que seas tan pendejo. But anyway, in conclusion, go ahead and vote, and I know that the Gang of 3 is going to vote for it, not Mr. Hodge, and thank you, Mr. Hodge. And in conclusion, Mr. Moreno, what you said was contradictory. The statement that you had, the annual discussion you had when you were a mayor, I'm sure you didn't write that. Somebody else wrote it for you. And the thing is with Mr. Castro, he's got the right, independent of what the Gang of 3 may think. They're not English students. Mr. Romero wants to pretend that he's an English, it's embarrassing because Luis wrote a letter. You know what, Mr. Romero? I would criticize, and I would sure like to get a narrative, a composition in American government. I bet you I'll criticize it. I bet you I'll write one better than you. You cannot be judge here and tell us Mr. Castro doesn't have the right. He's got a First Amendment.
Nobody says he
and
doesn't
it's
have
up to the Superior Court. If you guys make this policy, anybody can challenge that. The one that precedes the same thing. I know you're going to vote, and Mr. Castro's not here. You're social and political cowards. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, I'm going to ask you, if you come up again, do not use profanity, or I'll ask you to be escorted out.
You're not going to deny that, and you can go ahead and put me in jail.
Okay? Then
Go
it's,
ahead.
then it's on the record.
Sure, Lenny Bruce in 1960 set fire.
Okay, that's it. That's it. All right,
Put me in
we're
jail.
going to go forward. I don't have a sheet of yours, but go ahead.
What I have to say is that I think it's not a good judgment what you guys did of doing this when he's not here. I don't have internet, so I didn't read the letter. I don't know exactly what's in the letter, but I can say something that it seems that you give me an idea that you are not united, because if he wrote that letter and he put it out and he didn't discuss it with you, it means that you guys are not united the way you should have been. So that letter would have some communication with you. You would have known that he was going to print that letter. So I really think that you should not be so hard on him, because maybe he has mistakes, maybe it doesn't. But still, the communication between you before he printed it would have been okay if you had been united. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since everyone has spoken. Now, the mayor's message posted on the website is inaccurate and arguably in part or in whole. But it is inaccurate. You already heard a report by the city manager that the city is not in a severe financial and fiscal crisis. If any part of that letter is inaccurate, then it should be removed. It's that simple. Mr. Gonzalez, you said your piece. Now I'm going to say mine. Again, if any part of that letter is inaccurate, then it should be removed. Now, Mr. Chalo, at the next word, can you please escort Mr. Gonzalez? I don't want to have, please, Mr. Gonzalez, don't make me do it. The discussions that I've had with the mayor regarding this letter, and I made it very clear to him that the information that was being placed there, and I told him myself, that it was political. When he shared that letter with me, and he only gave me a minute to review it, and I told him that I already immediately saw there was one item that I was not in agreement with, but yet he was expecting me to make a comment regarding the whole letter, which I did not have more time to review. The mayor of Calexico, and since you brought it up, Mr. Bill Hodge, the mayor of Calexico is an appointed mayor. Weak mayor, strong mayor, doesn't matter. He's an appointed mayor by this council. The mayor represents this council, and besides, represents the community of Calexico. When he puts a message before the public, I firmly believe that the mayor's message should be that of what the consensus of the council is, that the support is there, and not his individual or personal beliefs. He even shot, as Mr. Moreno said, he even criticized himself when I don't know if he realized it or not, when he said that the past administration failed to do what it needed to do. I look at the letter, and I was trying to make comments, but I was underlining almost every sentence. Now, he says that the city is carrying a tremendous amount of debt for our size. Who has this formula to determine what our debt should be? There isn't. City needs the services, it contracts out, it needs the personnel. Now, the only thing that would be tremendous for our size is if there were no financial recourses to take care of them. And there has been. The crisis is mainly driven by past administration incurring debt in hopes of rapid growth. You might find that some of those votes were also taken by Mr. Castro. It was won in my first 2 years. Like in this case, you mentioned about that he's not here, might be on his own, but the first 3 years, I was pretty much on my own here. As one person is here, he referred to it as a Lone Ranger. Prior years' budget shortfalls have contributed to our problem. We have to remember that a shortfall is more based on what the budget is going to have to be adjusted down to. Now, obviously, there is a history, in fact, 2009, 2010, where the city was in a deficit, and during that year, there was a discussion where the deficit was going to be handled in 2 fiscal years. I fought tooth and nail to make sure that that deficit went to 0 at the end of that fiscal year. I preferred not to have the council carry that burden to the next mayorship. And it was able to be done. Naturally, a lot of cuts had to be made, reduction in expenses. Now, again, going back to the debt of our size, the city manager mentioned a little while ago that compared from the fiscal years that there's $1 million, approximately $1 million in reduction in debt or obligations. Debt is one thing that you owe, obviously, and expenditures is something that you can manage. As revenues, you cannot, but you can manage debts. Now, public safety overtime continues out of control. We have countless discussions during the course of the year where people are asking for more public safety. Nobody argues that we should have more public safety. But yet he says here that it's out of control. We all want more police officers on the street. We want more firefighters out there to be ready to respond to calls. So you have to, in one of the areas where it helps the police department to burden some of this expense is through the Stone Garden grant. So there is no mismanagement or out-of-control expenses. Out-of-control expenses, I would say more the term would be used when there are no revenues, potential revenues to be able to take care of them. Now, I actually stopped going through it with the very first paragraph because the rest of it, again, it was an issue, they were personal points of view that the more I read it, the more I disagree with it. The issue with, like Mr. Moreno said, regarding the school district, that's not our business. It's a different public entity, a different public agency. They have to take care of their own. The affordable housing and senior apartments. Mr. Castro did not realize that he voted against it when he voted against the issue of the redevelopment. One of the things is that if everybody wants a strong mayor, then I guess one process which was discussed by former city manager Carrillo was maybe become a charter city. Then the city of Calexico can then vote for its mayor besides for its council members. I do want to reiterate that the points of view that he listed were his own, and they were not that of what I'm going to say every individual council member, and I'm going to exclude right now Mr. Hodge because he said a little while ago that he is pretty much in agreement with the content of the letter. Regarding the words used, debatable, judge and jury, who is being debatable and who is being judge and jury. Of any issue, there are both sides. While this council, I'm going to say more in particular, Mr. Moreno, Ms. Hurtado, and myself were accused of being, going through this debatable and judge and jury, also consider that Mr. Castro was also judge and jury. And yet, he was judge and jury without taking the necessary time to meet with the finance director, the city manager, to see what the real picture was for the city of Calexico today. His comments are accurate from a fiscal year or two ago, but today they are not. Now, the word used by coward by Mr. Kim and by Mr. Anthony Gonzalez, Oscar Gonzalez, apologies to Anthony Gonzalez, I'm not familiar with him. What you call the cowardly act, Mr. Kim, it was requested on the agenda before I knew that Mr. Castro was going to be leaving town. Now, you are entitled to believe that or not to believe it. That's what everything is, a democracy. You got your choice to refer to it as a cowardly act, a political act. I've been on the council for almost 3.5 years, and I can assure you, Mr. Kim, I can challenge you to any cowardly acts because I have not committed one during my 3.5 years. Now, the issue here is, obviously, it's more of a personal nature of what is the consensus of the council and what is the preference of the mayor. Now, if we're going to run the city in a manner of, then it's a strong mayor, then let's move forward and go through the process of having a strong mayor. The people vote for the mayor and the people vote for the council, and then the council cannot really get in a situation of going through here like this, what we're going through now. But Mayor Castro is no different from any one of us. He's a council member, and first a council member, and this council appointed him to represent the council and the citizens of Calexico. I don't know by the content of his letter if he was really representing his own thoughts, because he obviously knows that this was not in consensus with the council. And it's not in consensus with the council because the facts are not accurate. And like I said earlier before, if any one portion of that letter is inaccurate or is unfounded, then it should be removed from the website. Thank you. Since we have enough discussion on the item, is there a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I just want to clarify that the item number 11 is an action to decide whether to include the letter in the final budget document, which is separate from the one that's also been mentioned, the next one, but same general topic. So if there's going to be a motion, please make it specific to the message in the final budget document.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yes, I move that we do not include it in the final budget comment.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, please vote.
Just this one. They don't know.
Let the record show 3-1. So I guess go forward to not include the mayor's message in the final budget document. We go to item number 12. Item number 12, discussion and possible action related to city website content and approval of a resolution adopting a city internet website policy. I will first go to Mr. Kim, and please keep it brief.
This is going to be short.
Thank you.
The all the city activities is public information, except the sudden, just a little bit of the amount of the actions, like the personal, litigations, some negotiations, real estate, all those things, except that one is public information by the Brown Acts. Especially when city make the city website that is intent to communicate with the city, the citizens to let them know what is going on, and publicizing the city council meeting, all the backup documents. Now, city wants to eliminating to choose who can go up to where, up to not. Is then why they make the city website then? Close down, just keep it secret. That's why the public has to get the permit to log into the city website to see what is going on in the what city publishments. I believe this is outrageous of the non-transparency to the community. I might have to call it a joke. We might have our chamber of the city council as a Kremlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Oscar Gonzalez.
I appreciate your vote, the one before, because I'm so elated, cosmically elated, that you did not ask Mr. Castro to remove that from the website, and instead you said it can't go with the budget. That's okay, but if you had done that, it would have been an ex post facto law, and that's illegal. You cannot have anybody retract anything from the website or anything. Mr. Moreno, you know that. It's ex post facto if you would have, and that's what you would have done if you would have passed a motion to discredit and have him removed. Granted that he was not an elected mayor. I think he corrected that. But he's not going to remove it from the website, and I hope he doesn't. I think what you're trying to do is it didn't exist before. Many cities don't have that. But yet, Calexico 2011, you guys want to do that? Well, the only reason you're doing it is to prevent Mr. Castro because he's the mayor, and I think that's unfair, grossly unfair. But I know that what I say is debatable, Mr. Moreno, and Mr. Romero, and Ms. Hurtado, and everything you say is debatable too. And I know that I'm not perfect, and I promise not to cuss here or again to satisfy your military mind that I'm not going to cuss. But you see, that's also a freedom of speech. But to acquiesce with what you're saying, because I'm a gentleman, I'm not going to cuss anymore.